Captain Abby Morrison stood on the bridge of the Starseeker, her eyes fixed on the view screen. The small research vessel drifted silently through the empty space of the Epsilon Eridani system. This was supposed to be a simple survey mission like dozens before it, but something felt different today. The Starseeker was not a warship. It had been centuries since humans built true warships. After 1,000 years of peace across 17 settled star systems, the concept of war existed only in history books. The ship carried minimal defensive capabilities, just enough to deflect small asteroids or space debris. Abby checked the sensor readings again. An anomaly on the third planet had caught her attention. Something metallic buried under. Layers of dust and rock. Something that should not be there. Lisa, her second in command, approached with a data pad. "The team is ready for surface exploration." "Captain," she said. Abby nodded. "We go down in 30 minutes. Tell everyone to prepare for extended surface time." This might be important. The shuttle ride to the surface was bumpy, the planet's thin atmosphere offering little resistance. Their landing site was a vast desert plain with rocky outcroppings dotting the landscape in the distance. Abby could see what appeared to be the remains of a structure half buried in sand. The exploration team, consisting of Abby, Lisa, and 3 scientists, moved carefully across the alien terrain. Their environment suits protected them from the harsh conditions. "Outside temperature reads -70, scientist Karen Walsh announced through the comm. "The air is mostly nitrogen with trace amounts of oxygen. Not breathable, but not immediately toxic either." They reached the structure after a 20-minute walk. Up close, it became clear this was no natural formation. The exposed section revealed smooth metal walls with strange symbols etched into the surface. "This is human-made," Abby whispered as her gloved hand traced the familiar pattern of an old Earth. Language. The team worked for hours clearing away sand and rock to reveal an entrance. The airlock was damaged but functional. After cycling through, they found themselves in a dark corridor. Emergency lights flickered to life as they moved deeper into the facility. "This place has been abandoned for centuries," Lisa said, examining the dust-covered consoles. "Yet somehow it still has power." The facility was small but packed with technology, much of it unfamiliar to the team. In the central chamber, they discovered rows of data storage units. Their design was ancient but purpose unmistakable. Karen connected her modern interface to one of the units. "It still works," she said with surprise. "The data is encrypted, but the system recognizes my human DNA. It wants authentication." Abby stepped forward, placing her hand on the scanner surface. The system hummed to life. Screens around the room activated, showing star charts, data streams, and video logs. The first log showed a woman with tired eyes and a determined expression. Her uniform was military style, but unlike any current human design. "My name is Commander Lily Reeves," she said. "This will be my final log entry. The Viridian Collective has found us again. We are evacuating to the coordinates included in this data package. May whoever finds this understand what we faced and prepare for their return." The logs revealed a terrible truth. The peace humanity had enjoyed for 1,000 years was artificial. The Viridians, an advanced alien species, had been secretly manipulating human genetics for centuries, gradually breeding out aggression and military instinct. Their goal was to cultivate humans as a docile species before their planned harvest. Abby felt sick as she watched log after log. The Viridians had infiltrated human society at every level. Their technology allowed them to remain undetected as they altered the human genome. Generation after generation. The changes were subtle: decreased aggression, increased compliance, reduced territorial instinct. But over centuries, the effect was profound. But Lily Reeves and her followers had somehow remained unaltered. They established hidden colonies beyond known space, preserving the original human genetic code and maintaining military readiness. They left outposts like this one containing warnings and coordinates to their hidden worlds. "We need to take this information back to Earth," Abby said. "We need to warn." Loud alarm cut her off. Karen looked up from her console with fear in her eyes. Something massive just entered the system, she said. Multiple objects moving toward the planet. They rushed back to the shuttle, taking copies of the data with them. As they lifted off, Abby saw them. Enormous ships unlike anything in human records. They were organic-looking with flowing lines and pulsing lights. Their size defied belief, the smallest easily 20 times larger than the largest human vessel, the Viridians. Lisa whispered. They weren't supposed to return for another 50 years. The Starseeker was where they had left it, orbiting the planet. Abby ordered immediate departure, but the alien ships were faster. 3 smaller vessels detached from the largest ship and moved to intercept. Communications officer Maria Diaz frantically worked her console. Captain, they're broadcasting on all frequencies. The message, it's just 3 words, the harvest begins. Abby made a decision. Transfer all power to engines, she ordered. We need to reach the jump point before they catch us. The Starseeker accelerated, pushing its civilian-grade engines beyond safety limits. The ship shuddered as gravitational forces threatened to tear it apart. The alien vessels followed, matching their speed with ease. We're not going to make it. Lisa said, her voice steady, despite the fear. Then we make sure this information does. Abby replied. She activated the emergency beacon, encoding it with the data they had discovered, and set it to launch on a trajectory away from their pursuers. Send everything we learned about the Viridians and the coordinates to the hidden colonies. The beacon launched, streaking away just as the first energy pulse from the alien ships struck the Starseeker. The impact sent crew members flying. Damage reports flooded in from all sections. Can we still jump? Maria asked, pulling herself back to her station. 1 jump, maybe, Abby said. But not to Earth. If we lead them there, the planet will be defenseless. We need to find these hidden colonies. The coordinates show one at the edge of the Messier 13 cluster. We go there. The ship limped toward the jump point as more energy pulses rocked the vessel. Systems failed across the board. The hull breached in 2 sections, emergency force fields barely containing the atmosphere. Abby looked at her crew, their faces showing determination despite the desperate situation. The jump drive charged painfully slow. The alien ships closed in their organic forms, seeming to pulse with anticipation. Jump in 3, 2, 1. Maria called. The Starseeker vanished into folded space just as the aliens moved to surround it. They had escaped for now, but the horror they discovered would follow them. Somewhere ahead lay their only hope. The unaltered humans who had prepared for this day for 1,000 years. As the ship tumbled through jump space, Abby clutched the data crystal containing their dire warning. The peace was over. The fight for humanity's survival had begun. Maya Winters wiped sweat from her forehead as she made final adjustments to the engine core. The workshop hummed with energy as her creation neared completion. After 3 years of secret work, the ship was almost ready. She called it Vengeance A, name that would have raised eyebrows in the peaceful systems of mainstream humanity. But here on Haven, it carried a different meaning. Haven existed in the shadows of an unnamed star in the Messier 13 cluster. Its population consisted of descendants from Lily Reeve's original group, humans with unmodified genetics who maintained their aggressive instincts and warrior culture for a singular purpose: to be ready when the Viridians returned. Maya stepped back to admire her work. The Vengeance looked nothing like standard human vessels. Its hull incorporated both human innovation and reverse-engineered Viridian technology. The stealth system would make it nearly invisible to conventional sensors, and the weapons were designed specifically to target Viridian vulnerabilities. A voice from the doorway interrupted her thoughts. Still playing with your toys? Winter's Admiral Heather Blackwood entered the workshop, her uniform pristine despite the late hour. Her stern face showed neither approval nor criticism as she examined the ship. Not toys, Admiral Maya replied. Tools for our survival. The Vengeance can outrun, outfight, and outthink anything the Viridians bring against us. Blackwood circled the ship, running her hand along the smooth hull. Your theories are interesting, but untested. The Colony Council isn't convinced this is the best use of our resources. They prefer the conventional fleet approach. Maya bit back a sharp response. She had fought this battle in council meetings for years. The leadership of Haven stuck to traditional military doctrine, building larger ships with bigger guns. But Maya knew from studying the old records that the Viridians fought differently. Their technology was organic, adaptive, and highly sensitive. To energy signatures, conventional weapons would be useless. The alarm sounded before she could argue further. The workshop's lights switched to red as the colony went to high alert. Blackwood activated her comm unit, unidentified ship entering the system. "Admiral," the voice reported. "It's using old human codes, but the ship configuration is unknown." Blackwood was already moving toward the door. "Secure your project and report to the command center," she ordered. This could be them. Maya watched her go then, turned back to her ship. A smile crossed her face as she pressed a sequence on her wrist control. The Vengeance powered up silently, its systems coming online without the usual noise of conventional engines. If this was the Viridians, it was time to test her theories, not hide in a command center. The command center buzzed with activity as officers tracked the approaching vessel. Maya slipped in quietly, positioning herself near a monitoring station where she could see the incoming data. The ship was human design, but badly damaged hull breaches visible even from long-range scans. Its broadcasting and identification signal, Officer Dana Ellis announced. "It's the Starseeker, a research vessel registered to Earth Fleet. It's requesting emergency docking and medical assistance. More concerning, Admiral, are the 3 smaller signals following it at a distance." Tactical Officer Zoe Ryan pointed to blips on the edge of the sensor range. "Their configuration matches nothing in our database, but their energy signatures are consistent with what we know of Viridian technology." Blackwood studied the display. "The Starseeker is 5 minutes from docking range. The unknown vessels will enter weapons range in 15 minutes. Alert all defense platforms and scramble the fighter squadrons. Keep the main fleet in reserve until we identify the threat." Maya slipped out during the commotion. No one noticed as she made her way back to the workshop. The Vengeance was fully powered now, its systems ready for launch. This was the moment she had worked for. The Starseeker limped into Haven space, its hull scorched and breached in multiple places. The ship's remaining power directed to life support and communications. Captain Abby Morrison watched from the bridge as the hidden colony came into view. A massive asteroid field concealed a hollowed-out planetoid surrounded by defense platforms. "We made it," she whispered, though survival seemed hardly guaranteed. The Viridian scout ships had followed them through 3 jump points, losing ground but never giving up. The Starseeker could not run anymore. "Haven Control. This is Captain Abby Morrison of Earth Research Vessel. Starseeker." She broadcast, "We carry critical information about the Viridian Collective. We are being pursued. Request immediate assistance and sanctuary." The response came quickly. "Starseeker, you are cleared for emergency docking. Bay 7. Prepare for tractor assistance. Your pursuers have been detected. Defensive measures are being deployed." Abby felt relief wash over her as the tractor beam engaged, guiding the damaged ship toward the hidden base. They had found one of Lily Reeves' colonies against all odds. Outside the colony, defenses activated, weapon platforms powered up as fighters launched from concealed hangars. Admiral Blackwood directed the defense from the command center. "Deploy screen formation," she ordered. "Keep sight lines clear and weapons hot." The Viridians must not reach the colony. The 3 Viridian vessels accelerated as they detected the defenses. Their organic forms shifted, becoming more streamlined. Weapons ports opened along their hulls, glowing with energy. First contact came moments later. Energy beams lanced from the Viridian ships, slicing through 2 Haven fighters before they could respond. The colony weapons platforms returned fire, but their energy weapons seemed to dissipate against the Viridian hulls. "Our weapons are ineffective," Admiral Ryan reported. "The Viridian shields are absorbing the energy or redirecting it somehow." Maya guided the Vengeance out through a maintenance tunnel, avoiding the main launch bays. Her ship slipped into space undetected by either side. The stealth systems worked perfectly. Her display showed the battle unfolding, the Haven forces struggling against the 3 Viridian vessels. This is what she had designed for the Vengeance, carried weapons based on a different principle. Instead of energy beams that the Viridians could absorb, her ship used accelerated particles that would disrupt the organic components of Viridian technology. She targeted the nearest Viridian ship and fired. The particle beam struck without warning, cutting through the alien vessel. The effect was immediate. The organic hull convulsed as the particles disrupted its cellular structure. The ship writhed like a wounded animal before breaking apart. Both Haven forces and the remaining Viridians paused in apparent shock. Maya didn't wait. She swung the Vengeance toward the second Viridian vessel, firing again. The particle beam struck true, causing the same devastating effect. The ship twisted, trying to escape, but a second shot finished it. The third Viridian vessel turned, immediately accelerating away from the battle. Maya pursued, matching its speed. The Vengeance was faster, more maneuverable. She fired a final time, watching with satisfaction as the last enemy ship disintegrated. Unknown vessel, identify yourself. Blackwood's voice came through the comm, her tone a mixture of anger and astonishment. Maya activated her video link. "This is Maya Winters aboard the Vengeance," she replied, unable to keep the pride from her voice. "I believe I just proved my theories, Admiral." The aftermath came swiftly. Maya found herself in the colony's main briefing room, facing both Admiral Blackwood and the newcomers, Captain Abby Morrison and her surviving crew. The Starseeker survivors looked exhausted, but determined as they shared what they had discovered. "The peace we enjoyed was never real," Morrison explained. "The Viridians have been manipulating human genetics for centuries, making us docile in preparation for harvest. Earth has already fallen. Its population would have offered no resistance." "How did you find us?" Blackwood asked. "Commander Lily Reeves left coordinates in hidden outposts," Morrison answered. "She was your ancestor, wasn't she?" Blackwood nodded. "She founded Haven and the other colonies. Our ancestors escaped the Viridian influence, maintaining our original genetic makeup and military traditions, preparing for the day they would return." "Which is now," Maya added. "This was just a scouting party. More will come. The harvester fleets that attacked Earth will eventually trace the Starseeker here. We need to prepare." Blackwood turned to her. "The demonstration of your ship was impressive, Winters. Your theories about Viridian vulnerabilities appear correct. The Council has approved immediate production of weapons based on your designs." Maya felt a moment of vindication, but it passed quickly. "What about offense?" she asked. "We can't just wait for them to find us. We need to take the fight to them. Find the other colonies. Build a force that can challenge the Viridians." The Admiral studied her for a long moment. "I will lead a task force," she decided. "We will seek out the other colonies using the coordinates Captain Morrison brought and establish a united defense. Then we will consider offensive options." Maya opened her mouth to argue, but Blackwood continued, "You will remain here to oversee production of new ships and weapons. Your expertise is too valuable to risk." The meeting ended, but Maya had no intention of staying behind. As others filed out, she began formulating her plan. The Vengeance was her ship. She would not be left behind while others fought. The coming war would need her skills on the front lines, not in a workshop. That night, as Haven prepared for war, Maya secretly modified the Vengeance, installing an enhanced AI system that would allow her to control the ship with minimal crew. She programmed herself as the ship's engineer, hiding her presence from the official manifest. When Admiral Blackwood's fleet departed 2 days in, Admiral Heather Blackwood stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Defiance. The view screen showed the aftermath of their latest battle. Viridian ship fragments drifted through space, their organic components still pulsing weakly with diminishing light. 4 weeks of hit-and-run attacks had yielded impressive results. The Viridians had not expected resistance, especially not weapons specifically designed to target their vulnerabilities. "We count 3 harvester ships destroyed and 2 damaged. Beyond repair," Tactical Officer Zoe Ryan reported. 7 of our fighters lost, 2 support vessels damaged. No damage to capital ships. Blackwood nodded, her expression grim. Even in victory, each victory came with losses they could ill afford. The fleet, from Haven, now joined by ships from 3 other hidden colonies, numbered less than 200 vessels. The Viridians controlled thousands. "Status of the Vengeance?" she asked. "The stealth ship detached from the debris field and is returning to formation," Ryan answered. Its particle cannons were again highly effective against Viridian shields. Blackwood suppressed her irritation. Maya Winters had become an unexpected asset in battle, but her presence on the fleet was still unauthorized. the young engineer, had stowed away rather than stay behind as ordered. Now her ship led every assault, its advanced weapons proving decisive in engagement after engagement. Have Winters report to my ready room when she docks. Blackwood ordered, then set course for the rendezvous point at the neutron star. We need to meet with the representatives from the Indigo colony. The fleet moved through space in tight formation, the Vengeance taking point. The neutron star provided cover from Viridian sensors, its powerful electromagnetic field creating a shadow where ships could hide. Maya docked her vessel, then made her way to the Admiral's ready room. She entered without waiting for permission, her face flushed with the excitement of battle. You wanted to see me. Admiral, she said. Blackwood gestured to a chair. The sensor data from your last attack run shows structural weaknesses in the larger Viridian vessels. Your targeting protocols are being distributed to all ships. Maya nodded, accepting the implied praise there. Organic technology makes them vulnerable to targeted particle disruption. The larger the ship, the more centralized their control nodes. We can exploit that. Blackwood studied the younger woman. Your presence on this fleet was against orders, but your contributions have been valuable. The Council has officially assigned you as technical coordinator for the Alliance. The Alliance, Maya repeated. The word still felt new. 4 hidden colonies working together after centuries of isolation. Each had taken different approaches to preserving humanity. The tactical brilliance of Haven, the psychic abilities developed by the Indigo colony, the biological warfare expertise of the Darwin Enclave, the swarm drone technology of the Midas Collective. Together, they might stand a chance. We arrive at the rendezvous in 6 hours. Blackwood continued. The Indigo representatives have information they say could change the course of the war. Be ready. The neutron star burned bright against the blackness of space. Its radiation would be deadly to any unshielded ship, but the fleet had adapted their shields to the specific frequencies. The 5 largest vessels moved into the shadow zone where communications could still function. Maya joined Admiral Blackwood. In the Defiance conference room, representatives from each colony were present. Leader Diane Porter from the Indigo colony stood as they entered. Her eyes had the characteristic purple tint of her people, a side effect of the genetic modifications they had embraced to develop psychic abilities. We have made contact with Earth, Porter announced without preamble. The room fell silent. The resistance there grows stronger each day. A woman named Susan Carter leads them. They've managed to broadcast a signal that disrupts Viridian control over human minds. How is contact possible? Maya asked. The distance porter smiled. Our psychics can connect across vast distances. Once we know a mind exists, we can reach it. Carter has provided valuable intelligence. The Viridians are struggling to maintain control. Their harvest is behind schedule. They're calling in reinforcements. This is our opportunity. Commander Allison West from the Darwin Enclave said, if they're concentrating their forces around Earth, we can strike elsewhere, disrupt their supply lines. Porter raised her hand. There is more. The Viridians aren't what we thought. They aren't a natural species. They're artificial beings created by an even older race. Maya leaned forward. What do you mean? The psychic connection revealed images, memories from the Viridian collective consciousness, Porter explained. They were created millions of years ago by a race called the Ancients. When the Ancients faced extinction, they created the Viridians to preserve their knowledge. But over time, the programming corrupted. The Viridians developed a need to harvest genetic material from other species to maintain their artificial biology. So they aren't invading for territory or resources, Maya said. They're harvesting us to sustain themselves, Porter nodded. The Viridians target species with specific genetic traits. Then they modify those traits over generations to produce the exact genetic material they need. Human aggression, independence. These traits interfere with the process, so they bred them out of us. The implications were enormous. Maya thought back to the designs of the Vengeance. The particle weapons disrupted organic systems, but the Viridians weren't truly organic. They were artificial beings with organic components that explained their vulnerabilities. We need to alter our approach, she said. If they're artificial beings, they must have a central control system, a hub that directs the collective. Porter smiled again. You are perceptive, Maya Winters. The Indigo psychics glimpsed such a place. A massive space station near the galactic core where the collective consciousness is housed. Admiral Blackwood, who had remained silent during the exchange, spoke. The galactic core is heavily defended. We would need the combined might of all colonies to launch such an attack, and even then success would not be guaranteed. A new voice joined the conversation. Maya turned to see a holographic projection forming in the center of the room. A woman with determined eyes and a strong presence. Susan Carter, leader of the Earth Resistance. Then we give you more allies, Carter said. Her image flickered, but her voice remained clear. My people have captured Viridian communication technology. We're broadcasting the disruption signal to all human worlds. Billions are awakening from Viridian control. How secure is this connection? Maya asked Anne. Indigo Psychic maintains it, Porter answered. The Viridians cannot detect it. Carter continued. We've discovered something else. The Viridians cannot adapt to rapid emotional shifts in their hosts. They evolved to suppress emotion gradually over generations. When humans experience strong emotions, particularly anger or courage, it creates feedback in their control systems. This fits with our findings, Commander West said. The Darwin Enclave has been studying Viridian biology. Their systems are designed to process slow changes, not sudden ones. Maya felt excitement building. A plan was forming in her mind. If we could coordinate an attack, she began, with Earth forces creating disruption from within, while our fleet strikes from without, we would need more than just military tactics. Blackwood interrupted. We would need to break the conditioning of billions of humans simultaneously. Porter turned to her colony representative, a young man with eyes even more vividly purple than the others. He spoke softly. The Indigo Psychics could broadcast a signal if we had a powerful enough amplifier. We could use the Viridians' own communication network against them. But we would need access to their central node, so we still need to reach the core, Maya said, and we still face the same problem. How do we get past their defenses? Carter leaned forward in her projection. The Viridians are pulling forces from across the galaxy to deal with Earth that leaves other approaches to the core more vulnerable. We have the location of several jump points that lead directly to the core region. Maya looked at Blackwood. The Admiral was already nodding. A two-pronged attack, she said. Earth forces continue to create disruption, forcing the Viridians to concentrate their harvester fleets there. Meanwhile, our combined fleet approaches through the secondary jump points. The planning continued for hours, each colony contributing their expertise. The Darwin Enclave provided biological countermeasures. The Midas Collective offered their swarm technology that could overwhelm Viridian defenses. Haven supplied tactical plans and weapons. The Indigo Colony prepared their psychics for the largest coordinated mental broadcast in human history. Maya found herself at the center of it all, coordinating the technical aspects. Her understanding of Viridian technology made her invaluable. She worked with teams from each colony, integrating their systems, creating new weapons, adapting defenses. As the meeting concluded, Admiral Blackwood addressed the gathered representatives. This will be the most significant military operation in human history, she said. Our ancestors preserved our true nature for this moment. They knew that peace without vigilance was merely submission. They kept our fighting spirit alive. Now we use that spirit to free humanity from those who would harvest us. The representatives returned to their ship's preparations beginning immediately. Maya remained in the conference room studying the data on the Viridian Central Node. A hand fell on her shoulder. She looked up to see Admiral Blackwood. Your ship will lead the assault team. Blackwood said the Vengeance has the best chance of reaching the central node undetected. Maya nodded, feeling both pride and fear. Is this how? Susan Carter tended her rooftop garden as she did every morning. The sun rose over the Chicago skyline, casting golden light across her tomato plants and herb garden. She hummed softly as she worked, a vague sense of contentment washing over her, despite the nagging feeling that something was not quite right. That feeling had become stronger lately, a sense that she was forgetting something important. that her life as an agricultural scientist was somehow incomplete. But whenever she tried to focus on this unease, it slipped away like water through her fingers. The sound of excited voices drew her attention to the street below. A crowd had gathered, people pointing up at the sky. Susan followed their gaze. Her breath caught in her throat. Massive ships hung in the morning sky. Their surfaces rippled with patterns of light and dark like living things. They were beautiful in a strange way. The largest was shaped like a teardrop, stretching at least a mile from end to end. Smaller vessels detached from it, descending toward the city. Susan should have felt fear. Any reasonable person would. But instead she felt only mild curiosity. Even as announcements began to broadcast through the city, the message repeated in a soothing voice. Citizens of Earth, do not be alarmed. We are the Viridian Collective. We have come to elevate you to the next stage of existence. Please proceed to the designated collection points. Your cooperation ensures a painless transition. All around her, people began moving toward the streets. Their faces showed the same placid acceptance. Susan felt herself taking a step toward the stairs. Then pain shot through her head, sharp and sudden, like nothing she had experienced before. She gasped, dropping her watering can as she fell to her knees. Images flashed in her mind. A younger version of herself in a uniform she didn't recognize. People shouting in panic. A weapon in her hands. The pain intensified, then vanished, leaving her gasping on the rooftop garden. The fog in her mind had lifted slightly. Susan staggered to her feet, watching in horror as her neighbors walked calmly toward the landing ships. They looked like sleepwalkers, eyes open but unseeing. Something was controlling them. And until moments ago, it had been controlling her too. She made her way inside, locking the door behind her. The television showed scenes from around the world. The same ships appeared over every major city, the same calm compliance from the population. She changed channels, seeking any sign of resistance, but found none. Even the news anchor spoke of the arrival with detached interest. "Something is wrong," she whispered. The words themselves felt strange, as if she hadn't formed an independent thought in years. The headache returned, bringing more flashes of memory. Susan, training with others in a forest. A woman named Lily speaking to a group about resistance genetic manipulation. Susan herself volunteering for an experimental procedure to protect her mind. She needed to find others like her. People who might be remembering the Viridian ships would not have come if they expected resistance. There had to be a reason they felt safe harvesting now. Susan packed quickly, taking only essentials: water, food, a first aid kit. Hesitated, then pulled a loose brick from her fireplace. Behind it was a small box she didn't remember placing there. Inside was an old military ID card with her picture and a name. Susan Carter, Special Forces Genetic Resistance Division. Also in the box was a small device with a single button and an address scribbled on paper. The streets were eerie as Susan made her way through the city. People walked in orderly lines toward collection points where Viridian ships had landed. Those who had already arrived stood in neat rows waiting to board the aliens. Themselves were tall and slender, with pale, translucent skin that pulsed with light. They moved among the humans, touching each person briefly before directing them into the ships. Susan kept to side streets and alleys, avoiding the main collection routes. The address led her to the Museum of Human History, a grand building that had stood for centuries. The museum was empty, its staff presumably joining the lines outside. She made her way to the military history wing, moving carefully through exhibits chronicling humanity's violent past wars that now seemed distant and unreal to most people. Weapons that had not been used in centuries. The display cases were sealed with simple electronic locks that deactivated when she swiped her old ID card. Susan wasn't sure what she was looking for until she saw it. A glass case containing uniforms from the last great war before the peace. 1,000 years ago, beside it another case held preserved weapons. Their designs were primitive by current standards, but they would work. As she reached for the case, a voice spoke behind her. "I wondered if anyone else would come here." Susan spun around, finding herself face to face with another woman. This, one tall with dark hair and eyes that held the same clarity. Susan now felt. "My name is Kate Martinez," the woman said. "Former museum curator. Currently very confused about why I suddenly remember military training I never had. You feel it too." "Then, Susan," said the memories. "The sense that something has been done to us," Kate nodded. "The Viridians have been manipulating us, changing our genetics to make us docile. But something went wrong with some of us. The conditioning is breaking down. I started having headaches and flashbacks 2 weeks ago. How many others do you think there are?" Susan asked. Kate led her to a staff room where 3 other people waited. 2 men and another woman, all with the same clear eyes, the same tension in their postures. "Not many," Kate said, "but enough to start. Something about these ships being here is accelerating the breakdown in the conditioning. More people are waking up." A man introduced as Daniel stepped forward, showing Susan a small device identical to the one from her hidden box. "These were left for us by the Resistance 1,000 years ago. They somehow knew this day would come." Susan held up her own device. "What's it for?" "A beacon," Kate explained. "It sends a signal that disrupts the Viridian control frequency. We believe it might help break the conditioning in others, but we need more power to broadcast widely. The museum has an old emergency broadcast system in the basement." Daniel said it was preserved as a historical artifact, but the components still work. "We could modify it to amplify the signal." Susan felt a sense of purpose fill her, something she hadn't experienced in her carefully controlled life. Before they could move forward, the museum doors crashed open. Several Viridians entered there, bodies glowing with pulses of blue light. Behind them came humans wearing strange devices on their heads. Their eyes were vacant, completely under control. "Anomalies detected," one of the Viridians announced. Its voice was melodious, despite the threatening. "Words submit for processing." Kate moved first, grabbing an ancient pistol from the open display case. She fired 3 shots. The first 2 missed, but the third struck a Viridian center mass. The alien staggered, its skin rippling with distress. The controlled humans rushed forward. "Run," Kate shouted to the others. "Get to the basement. Set up the broadcast." Susan and Daniel fled down a service stairwell while Kate and the others provided covering fire. The sounds of struggle echoed behind them. They reached the basement, finding the old broadcast equipment behind a preservation field. Daniel worked quickly, his fingers moving with practiced skill he shouldn't possess. "This knowledge isn't mine," he muttered as he connected wires and adjusted settings. "But I remember learning it." Susan connected her beacon to the main console. The device began to pulse with light. "Once we're broadcasting, how will we know if it works?" she asked. "The Viridians will send everything they have to stop us." Daniel replied. "That should be a good indicator." Above them, the sounds of fighting grew closer. Kate appeared at the stairwell doorway, blood streaming from a cut on her forehead. "They're coming," she gasped. "More than we can handle." Daniel looked up from the console. "Almost. Ready?" he said. "Just need to." The wall exploded inward. Debris showered the room as Viridians poured through the breach. Their bodies glowed brighter with what Susan now recognized as anger. The controlled humans followed, weapons raised. Susan saw Daniel reach for the activation switch. A Viridian fired some kind of energy weapon. The blast caught Daniel full in the chest, throwing him against the wall. Susan dove for the console, her fingers finding the switch. She slammed it down as another energy blast grazed her arm. The beacon connected to the broadcast system emitted a high-pitched tone that made the Viridians shriek in pain. Their bodies convulsed, light patterns becoming erratic. The controlled humans dropped their weapons, clutching their heads. Some collapsed while others looked around in confusion. Susan felt the signal resonating through her own body, strengthening her clarity, sharpening her memories. She remembered everything now. The resistance, the warning from their ancestors, the genetic modifications that had been done to humanity generation after generation. Kate helped her to her feet. "We need to move," she said. "The signal is working, but they'll adapt. They always do." They gathered what weapons they could and made their Way to the surface. The city had changed in just the short time they had been in the museum. People were fighting back. Some still walked in a daze, but others had awoken running or fighting against the Viridians. A small group of awakened humans had formed a perimeter around the museum. They cheered as Susan and the others emerged. The broadcast worked, someone shouted. It's breaking the conditioning all across the city. Susan looked up at the massive ships still hanging in the sky. This is just one city, she said, and the Viridians will adapt to our signal soon. We need a better plan, a way to fight back permanently. Kate pointed to a Viridian communication. The human fleet emerged from the jump point, facing the most awe-inspiring sight any of them had ever witnessed. The galactic core burned with the light of 1,000,000 suns, and there suspended in the blazing void was the Viridian central node, a vast structure that defied comprehension. Its form was neither fully mechanical nor organic, but a perfect blend of both. Pulses of energy flowed across its surface like blood through veins. On the bridge of the Defiance, Admiral Blackwood surveyed the enemy forces arrayed against them. Hundreds of Viridian vessels formed a defensive perimeter around the central node, their organic hulls rippling with patterns of light communicating in ways humans could not understand. Sensors detect 527 Viridian ships, tactical officer Zoe Ryan reported. Their energy signatures indicate these are elite guardians, not standard harvesters. The central node itself has defensive capabilities, equivalent to another 200 vessels. Odds are not in our favor. Blackwood said, her voice calm despite the gravity of the situation. Is the Vengeance ready? Maya Winter's voice came through the comm. The Vengeance is prepared. Admiral stealth systems at maximum particle cannons charged. The boarding team is assembled. The plan was desperate, but it was their only hope. While the main fleet engaged the Viridian defenders, the Vengeance would use its advanced stealth technology to approach the central node. A small team would board the structure and deploy the Indigo Psychics. Their combined abilities, amplified by Viridian technology, would broadcast a signal to awaken all humans under Viridian control simultaneously. Begin the attack. Blackwood ordered. All ships launch fighters. Deploy drones, attack pattern Omega. The human fleet moved forward in perfect formation. Haven vessels in the center, their powerful weapons leading the charge. Darwin ships on the flanks, releasing biological countermeasures that disrupted Viridian. Sensor systems Midas swarm carriers launched thousands of drone fighters that swarmed toward the enemy, in coordinated patterns. Indigo vessels hung back, protected by the main force, their psychics already linking minds, preparing for the crucial moment. The Viridians responded with terrifying efficiency. Energy beams lanced from their ships, cutting through the first wave of human fighters. Organic projectiles that moved like living things sought out the larger vessels, attaching themselves to hulls and burning through armor. The battle erupted into chaos. Human ingenuity against Viridian coordination. Individual decisions against collective consciousness. The tactics developed by the hidden colonies proved effective. The particle weapons of Haven ships disrupted Viridian biology. The Darwin countermeasures confused Viridian sensors. The Midas swarms overwhelmed individual ships through sheer numbers, but the Viridians adapted quickly. Their ships began to change form, becoming more resistant to particle weapons. Their communication patterns shifted, countering the Darwin disruption. They deployed their own swarms to counter the Midas drones aboard the Vengeance. Maya watched the battle unfold on her tactical display. The ship moved silently through the combat zone, its stealth systems rendering it nearly invisible. The perfect distraction, she thought, as the human fleet engaged the bulk of the Viridian forces. The boarding team assembled in the launch bay, 5 Indigo Psychics. With their characteristic purple eyes, their abilities would be crucial. A team of Haven soldiers to provide protection. And Maya herself to interface with Viridian technology. Time to move, she announced. The Vengeance has reached optimal deployment. Range, the team boarded a specially modified shuttle, smaller than standard design with the same stealth technology as the Vengeance. The shuttle detached, moving slowly toward the central node. The massive structure grew larger in the viewports, its surface details becoming visible. strange organic patterns mixed with mechanical precision, pulses of energy that followed no discernible pattern. Maya felt a presence in her mind. The lead indigo psychic Diana was establishing the mental link that would connect the team. "We are receiving something," Diana said, her purple eyes unfocused. "Earth resistance is engaging Viridian forces across multiple continents. Susan Carter sends her regards." The shuttle reached the central node without detection. Finding an access point proved easier than expected. The Viridians had never anticipated an attack on their central node. The shuttle docked at what appeared to be a maintenance port. The team cycled through the airlock and entered the structure. The interior defied human architecture. Corridors shifted and changed as they watched surfaces pulsed with light and energy. Maya consulted her scanner. "The primary processing core is 2 kilometers inward," she said. "Follow me." They moved through the strange environment. The Haven soldiers took point weapons ready. The indigo psychics followed with Maya. Their senses extended beyond the physical, detecting Viridian presence before it became visible. The first defenders appeared suddenly. Humanoid forms, but clearly artificial. Their bodies translucent, showing internal structures that were neither mechanical nor organic. They moved with fluid grace, their limbs elongating as they attacked. The Haven soldiers responded with practiced efficiency. Their weapons firing particle bursts that disrupted the Viridian forms, but more defenders appeared with each junction they passed, their numbers increasing as the team pushed deeper into the structure. "We're being tracked," Diana warned. "They know we're here. The collective is focusing on us." Outside, the battle intensified. The human fleet fought valiantly but was outnumbered. The Defiance led a desperate charge, breaking through the Viridian line but taking heavy damage in the process. Admiral Blackwood stood on her damaged bridge, issuing commands as systems failed around her. "Hold the line," she ordered. "All ships protect the indigo vessels. We need to keep the psychic link stable." On Earth, Susan Carter led a daring assault on a Viridian command center. The resistance had grown from a handful of awakened humans to millions. Their crude weapons were no match for Viridian technology, but their numbers and determination made up for it. They fought, building by building, city by city, planet-wide. The boarding team reached a vast chamber at the heart of the central node. Maya gasped as she took in the sight. Countless data streams flowed through the air, visible as ribbons of light. At the center floated a pulsing, crystalline structure larger than a house. Energy coursed through it in complex patterns. "The Viridian collective consciousness," Diana whispered. "The storage of their entire species' memory and identity." Dozens of defenders materialized around the chamber, their forms more substantial than those encountered before. Maya recognized the designs from ancient records. These were not mere defenders. These were ancients, or at least replicas preserved by the Viridians. Their creators, the Haven soldiers, formed a defensive perimeter as the Viridian ancients approached. The battle was immediate and intense. Particle weapons disrupted some attackers, but others adapted, moving with impossible speed. 3 soldiers fell in the first exchange. "Get to the core," Maya shouted to Diana. The indigo psychics moved toward the crystalline structure. While Maya and the remaining soldiers provided covering fire, Diana reached the core, placing her hands on its surface. The other psychics joined her, forming a circle. Their eyes glowed with increasing intensity. As they established connection, the crystal pulsed in response, patterns changing. Becoming erratic, Maya fought her way to a control interface, her understanding of Viridian technology guiding her hands. The interface responded, recognizing human DNA. A security measure from the ancients, perhaps. The system opened to her, revealing its architecture. The Viridians were a program, a complex artificial intelligence created to preserve ancient knowledge. But the program had corrupted over millions of years, its preservation directive mutating into a harvesting compulsion. She began the reconfiguration, routing power from the central node to the psychic broadcast, her fingers flying over the alien controls. The defenders sensed her actions, focusing their attacks on her position. A soldier stepped in front of her, taking multiple hits before falling. Maya continued her work, even as energy blasts struck around her, In the psychic link, Diana connected with Susan Carter on Earth and Admiral Blackwood in space. The combined consciousness of the Resistance, the fleet, and the Indigo psychics formed a unified mind. The central node amplified their connection, extending it to every human under Viridian influence. The signal built in power. The crystal core pulsed faster, changing color from blue to purple. As the frequency matched the human brainwave pattern the broadcast initiated, a wave of pure mental energy expanded outward from the central node. Carried by the Viridian's own communication network, it reached every harvester ship, every occupied world, every human mind. On the Defiance, Admiral Blackwood received the transmission. "The signal is broadcasting," she announced to the fleet. "All ships press the attack. The Viridians will be destabilized throughout human space." The effect was immediate. Those still under Viridian control awakened, their minds clearing as the artificial conditioning broke down. Aboard harvester ships, humans turned on their captors. On occupied worlds, they fought back with whatever weapons they could find. The Viridian ships defending the central node faltered, their coordinated movements becoming erratic, their hulls showing patterns of distress. The human fleet pressed the advantage, Haven vessels firing their particle cannons. At maximum power, Midas drones swarming undefended sections, Darwin ships releasing final countermeasures that accelerated the disruption. Inside the central node, Maya completed the